Hong Kong is a city that never sleeps. I'm pretty much sure Hong Kong will bounce back again. It will come back very soon.
Hong Kong saw its most intense wave of COVID-19 2 years into the pandemic. Some of the world's toughest social distancing rules were imposed, affecting everyone in society.
The customers are not coming, and then we are just, standing here doing nothing, and then just worried about how we're gonna survive this pandemic.
Now 個個都唔敢返啦，又唔敢聚埋一齊，咁咪差啲，而家都悶啲咯。
The serious Omicron outbreak in Hong Kong was partly caused by the low vaccination rate, especially among the elderly. Despite a free mass vaccination program. This 91-year-old had been hesitant, but is now on her way to get her first jab.
而家話唔打又唔得喎，又嚴重咗，咁我又要打下咯。唔打咧，解釋都唔准入嘅。
The surge in COVID cases started on the last day of 2021, quickly bringing the city's health system to its knees. By February, some hospitals were so overwhelmed that patients had to wait and be treated outside. Images like these made international headlines. For the longest time, Hong Kong had managed to escape mass infections, but now the city faced a crisis.
With most of the waves, people have managed to not catch COVID. But then we have this fifth wave where it's gone really widespread really fast. And so that has put a big challenge on everyone. But also it's challenging for Hong Kong people because the rest of the world is opening up and Hong Kong is attached to China, and China and Hong Kong have both decided they don't want the pandemic here. They want zero tolerance.
We will continue to adhere to the current strategy of trying to contain the spread of the virus, or what we call maintaining this dynamic zero regime.
For the New Zealand teacher who has lived in Hong Kong for 16 years, the dynamic zero COVID strategy means she's limited to online classes and just one-on-one sessions.
1, 2, 3, eyes. Yeah, good girl, well done. The big impact is really seeing the children miss out on that connection with other children, Now it's just a child and me. These are their seeds. And if they're only 2 years old, their attention span is 2 minutes. And so that means that these little ones have to really push their emotions to focus on me. They have to fight their urges to go play. It's only natural at their age. Well done for doing your Zoom lesson with Miss Liz.
My son basically is trapped in a home. He can basically not go out of the house for weeks. So that's the social impact and also the physical impact on children, which is not very healthy.
The Tan family travel often for work and to visit family in Brunei. And so since the quarantine for inbound travelers was imposed, they spend a lot of time in confinement together.
Three quarantines in Hong Kong. The first one is the home quarantine. We stay at home for 14 days, which is quite easy. I quite enjoyed it because we have a lot of family time together.
We try to pick up some activities or learn something that we have not had the time to prior to pandemic. Like I picked up saxophone.
覺得吹完嗰個 C sharp 字慢咗之後咧，可以吸一啖氣先至落去 D 音，會比較好啲。
So in a nutshell, we see 7 days, 14 days, and also 21 days of hotel quarantine.
And we did have one day that we had a big quarrel. And
We call it meltdown.
yeah.
As residents grew frustrated with the border control and quarantine measures, the trend of people leaving the city for good, which started after the implementation of the national security law, continued during the pandemic. More than 113,000 Hong Kong residents left over 12 months starting in July 2021. The city lost 1.6% of its population. Hong Kong International Airport, Asia's busiest airport before the pandemic, took a massive hit as non-residents could not even enter the city for 2 years.
I used to travel a lot, like a few times every year, but I didn't do that since late 2019, so it has been nearly 3 years. I just don't want to quarantine. It would kill me. All the performances were cancelled, but I'm still able to write music and I'm still able to prepare productions in the future. So I'm working on a music theater project based on a poem called Love in the Time of Coronavirus, written by a local poet around 2 years ago. Let me check. Right. Betty Heist. 3 low lives with pocket knives. A supermarket they plundered. What for? Toilet paper.
The incident happened after days of panic buying, which started after rumors spread about shortages of goods at the beginning of the pandemic in January 2020.
Everyone talk about the catering business, the tourism, and even the salon, the gym, but no one in the society really talk about the effect on artists and athletes. I mean, he or she might not go training for a few months, and that could really damage an athlete, especially an athlete in this golden age. The impact on our career is actually not something that money can compensate easily.
To keep workers employed and help businesses, the government provided financial support through its anti-pandemic fund.
The government subsidy helps a lot, but the help is not enough.
Besides social distancing rules and a ban on dining in after 6 p.m, it had now also become mandatory to do temperature checks and scan the Leave Home Safe app before entering venues.
We are really working on the delivery platform at the moment just to survive this pandemic.
During COVID, Hong Kong's jobless rate spiked to a 15-year high. For those losing their jobs in one of the world's most expensive cities, life got tough.
開始諗之後點算啦？咁係因為疫情，所以擔心揾唔到其他工，所以就諗住申請住綜援先。咁因為綜援唔係即刻有得批，咁所以就可能問住屋企人借住啲先，跟住慳啲使噶嘛。申請綜援期間，其實我都會揾下其他工。
The 36-year-old mother of a teenager now gets $8,000 per month in social welfare, and she also found a part-time job. The 5th coronavirus wave dragged the city into an economic recession.
A lot of our favorite restaurants, they closed down. The pub closed down. We are actually the lucky minor. We still have our jobs. We don't have much impact financially. Some of our friends' business closed down because of COVID. They changed their occupation.
The COVID wave peaked in March 2022. and by late June, it was largely under control. Before the fifth wave, the city of 7.3 million was virtually unscathed by the pandemic. By the summer of 2022, over 1.2 million people were infected and more than 9,300 had died of COVID.
有啲朋友可能全家中咗，有幾個都係咯，即係都聽唔少，好多人都話全家中晒咁樣。
I actually caught COVID in late January. Fortunately, my symptoms were not very serious.
It was pretty bad. I was isolating at home, couldn't go out, and I have a small baby at home, and I was just worried about her.
None of the interviewees that caught the virus ended up in Penny's Bay, Hong Kong's much criticized isolation camp for COVID patients. By mid-March 2022, there were 26 isolation facilities, housing people who tested positive for the coronavirus. Despite some of the strictest pandemic regulations in the world and the swift and strict use of masks, the disease totally overwhelmed the city with its fifth wave. It was at the start of that wave, back in January 2022, when the government culled 2,000 pet hamsters on the suspicion of animal-to-human transmission of COVID, that it hit home how serious the pandemic still was.
In terms of a pandemic, which we've never had one in our lifetime before locally, you know, I think it's been pretty tough for everybody. The thing that people that I've spoken to have really struggled with has been that they feel like there's one rule, then there's the next rule, then there's the next rule, then there's the next, and it changes so frequently that every day you're hearing something new, and so we don't know what's happening day to day.
我都擔心即係之後可能都會係類似會有新嘅變種啊，跟住又有新嘅疫情啊，咁即係可能都會類似呢2年咁樣咯，即係可能我返幾個月工，跟住阿仔返幾個月學，跟住又有新嘅一波，跟住又係啦，又喺屋企1個月幾個月咁樣咯，即係
我疫情快啲過咗咯，過咗咪唔使啊，成日記住又中啊，驚中啊，中啊死啦死啦！
I hope when this is all over, we can look back and learn something from it. As a country, as a global citizen, as a family, and if situations like this do unfortunately strike again, we are more prepared for it.